She vanished after our first 2 kids, the bone-chilling truth she revealed at 3 a.m. It was a night like no other, the kind that skews your mind and etches fear deep in your bones. The clock struck 3, casting the room in eerie shadows, when Jess stumbled into the living room. Her hair was wild, eyes wide open. She looked like she'd seen something terrible. And maybe she did. She grabbed my arm, whispered frantically, "I saw her! I saw the woman in white again!" My heart raced. We had been parents for 2 years, but who was this ghost haunting our lives? Every night, after the kids were sound asleep, things turned strange. Muffled voices echoed through the walls, like a conversation just out of reach. Once, I found Jess standing frozen near the window, staring into the darkness, her breath hitching. "She's watching us," she murmured, and I laughed it off, but it scared me, too. After all, the stories in our town weren't just rumors. They had roots, deep ones that grew on haunted soil. Every detail was precise, particularly the way Jess described the figure dressed in old-fashioned white, floating just beyond the edge of sight, almost inviting. It sent shivers down my spine. I brushed my fingers over the fabric of the couch, feeling its rough texture ground me as Jess's tales became darker. She claimed its presence grew stronger with each passing day. Panic gripped me. Something was unraveling. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The next morning, Jess stepped out of bed and disappeared like a whisper. The kids cried, the house felt hollow. Just gone. I searched everywhere, under the beds, in the closets, even the basement. My chest tightened. The walls seemed to close in, suffocating me with their silence. Then I found a note scribbled in her frenzied handwriting. "Don't let her take the kids." Who was she warning me about? What had happened in those waking nightmares? How could Jess leave like that? Did the figure lure her? Did she sense something I couldn't see? The thought twisted my gut. I had to find her, before that haunting voice claimed another. As I paced the room, a cold breeze swept through, chilling me to the bone, raising hairs on my neck as I heard the faint sound of laughter echoing in the distance. Could it be? Was she calling me? I stepped outside, the night air biting at my skin. The wind howled like a restless spirit, and there was an unsettling stillness in the world around me. My mind raced. Had I really heard Jess's voice? Or was it a trick of my fraying sanity? The neighborhood slumbered, oblivious to my desperation. The yard, once a playground for our children, felt eerie. The swing swayed gently, as if someone had just been there. I moved closer, my heart pounding. "Jess!" I called, but the name hung heavy in the silence, swallowed whole by the darkness. I gripped the swing, the chain cold and unyielding, while visions of my wife flooded my mind. Her laughter, her smile, where was she now? I glanced at the old willow tree at the edge of our yard, its branches swaying as if beckoning me closer. Maybe, just maybe, there were answers hidden within those leaves. I stepped forward, my steps crunching on the dried grass beneath my feet. Shadows danced like phantoms in the moonlight as I reached the base of the tree. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke through the chill. I froze. "Jess?" The rustling intensified, a whispering wind that carried secrets from the past. I dared to look up into the gnarled branches, heart racing. And then there it was, a glimpse of white fluttering among the leaves. That same old-fashioned dress Jess had described. It couldn't be. A voice, melodic and haunting, floated down. "She's never truly gone. She just wants to come home." It chilled me to the bone. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice quaking. "Just a messenger," the voice echoed, soft yet echoing like a distant memory. "But do you really want to know her truth?" My throat tightened. A flash of movement caught my eye from behind the tree. The laughter returned, soft and tinkling, like bells chiming in the wind. It sent the remnants of my bravery tumbling down into a pit of despair. I couldn't let this entity spin its web around me. Where is Jess? Searching, like you. But she's drawn to the truth, like moth to a flame. Can you handle it? The weight of dread crashed over me. What truth? My hands trembled as I gripped the bark of the tree, nails digging in. Find her before the dawn breaks, it whispered. Time is slipping away, and the woman in white wants to wait. Suddenly, I did hear her. The sound of my children's laughter rang out again, but it was different this time. It felt sinister, twisted. My heart ached, knowing their innocence might be at stake. I turned on my heel, panic propelling me forward. Jess! Kids! I called again, desperation lacing my voice. The laughter echoed back, transforming it into something mockingly sinister. As I ran back towards the house, a flicker caught my eye, the dark outline of a figure standing at the porch. I skidded to a halt, dread settling like ice in my veins. There she stood, the woman in white, her face obscured by long strands of hair, her mouth curving into a smile that chilled my soul. Come closer, father, she beckoned softly, and with every word, the ground trembled beneath me. My heart raced, pounding like a war drum in my chest. What was I supposed to do? I needed to confront her, but should I? I glanced back at the darkened street, contemplating my next move. But then, as if sensing my hesitation, she whispered, I have what you seek. But it comes with a price. The night thickened around me, closing in like a noose, and I could feel the walls of reality crumbling. With one last glance at the ominous figure, I knew I had to make a choice. Would I uncover the truth, or would it swallow me whole? A thunderous crack echoed through the air, snapping me back to the moment. The woman in white stood there, an ominous shadow against the fading light, her presence both alluring and terrifying. I could see the flicker of her eyes piercing through the darkness, drawing me in. Come closer, she coaxed again, every word heavy with unsaid intentions. Was she really my wife? My heart wrestled with the doubt, battling the yearning to reach out, to find solace in what I thought I once knew. But the truth lurked somewhere deeper, tangled in the fabric of this nightmare. What price? I forced out, breathless, fighting against the tide of fear threatening to pull me under. She grinned, revealing a flash of white teeth against the midnight backdrop. Your past, your memories? They shape who you are, but they can also bind you. Would you trade them for your family? A sinister chill swept over me at her words, as if they were wrapped in hidden meanings, taunting me. Just tell me where they are. I shouted, anger mixing with desperation. I only want Jess and the kids. Each name hung in the air like a prayer, or perhaps a curse. The laughter echoed again, twisted like a wisp of smoke in the wind. The air grew thicker, heavy with anticipation, as if the night itself was holding its breath. She beckoned once more, her long fingers curling elegantly. You know the answer is within the truth. Her voice slithered through the air, enticing. But the truth is a double-edged sword, and only you can wield it. Do you dare? I felt my insides turn. A longing for resolution battled against the dread that churned within me. What do you mean? The question slipped out, almost painfully slow. I could feel every heartbeat reverberate in my throat. Tonight is unique, she said, her voice lowering as if sharing a dark secret. The veil is thin. Between the worlds of the living and the dead. You may find what you seek, but it will come with burdens you cannot fathom yet. A sharp breeze gusted around us, pulling at my clothes, as if warning me of the storm to come. I glanced down the street. The comforting glow of our porch light now seemed distant, swallowed by shadows. It was then that I felt the first tremor beneath my feet. It's time, she said, her voice an echo of a different time, slicing through the tension. Follow me, father. I will guide you through the darkness. But be warned, once you step into the truth there's no turning back. My heart clenched. I glanced at the depths of the night, the copse of trees, the lingering laughter of my children. They felt so far away. I closed my eyes. Could I really walk into that abyss? Was the truth worth the risk? With a shuddering breath, I took a step forward, doubt battling against hope. The ground trembled again, and then, before I could react, the woman in white turned and slid into the shadows, disappearing like mist. Instinctively I followed, fists tightening. My breath quickened as I plunged deeper into the darkness, compelled by something greater than fear, a desperate need to find Jess. But the deeper I went, the more I sensed an unseen eye watching, lurking. Was it the price I was bound to pay? Or perhaps a dark secret lurking just beyond my reach? Jess? I called out again, my voice a thread unraveling through the dense silence. I'm coming! Then came an answer, soft but unmistakable, don't be afraid. The realization struck, was it really her, or was this yet another trick? And as the trees loomed in shadow overhead, a more profound question lingered. Was it possible to trust what I couldn't see, what truth awaited me? I took another step, heart racing for answers, and the world around me felt unsteady. I knew then that I was in too deep, and the clock was ticking toward dawn. The shadows thickened as I moved forward, each step echoing in the eerie quiet. It felt like walking through a living nightmare. My heart pounded in my chest like a trapped bird. The chill in the air wrapped around me, a cold hand gripping my throat. Jess? I called again, desperation bursting from my lips. How had I let the darkness pull me away from the light? But what was left of that light now? The silhouettes of the trees twisted above my head like gnarled fingers reaching for me, clawing me back to where I had started. Don't be afraid. Her voice was a ribbon of silk in the wind, inviting yet tinged with a foreboding undertone that sent shivers straight down my spine. I pressed on, driven by instinct. The woman in white had disappeared. Her presence still haunted the air. Was she a figment of my imagination? A mirage created by fear and loss? But then came the whispers again, fading in and out, wrapped around the branches like a spell. They seemed to say my name, teasing with soft cooing sounds, urging me deeper. Suddenly, the ground beneath me shifted. I stumbled, nearly losing my footing. A piece of earth dislodged, revealing a cracked surface. Lying there, glistening in the dim glow of a hidden moon, was a shard of shattered glass. It reflected my distorted face, eyes wide, fear carved deep into my features. I reached down, my fingertips grazing the glass's edge, and something reared within me, a rush of memories so potent they felt alive. Fragments of laughter, sweet kisses, warm embraces, all wrapped in joy, like a soothing balm to my aching heart. But beneath them lay shadows too, screams, hurried goodbyes, the heavy weight of loss. The glass splintered, cutting the delicate thread of the memories. I pulled my hand back, blood blooming against the night. The world began to shake, a quiet roar building just out of sight. The air turned electric, and I realized the darkness around me was alive with intent, almost feeding off my fear. Jess! I shouted louder this time. The name burst from me, a primal scream. Hesitation rooted me to the ground. In the depths of my mind, a dread realization struck. Maybe this mysterious woman wasn't just a guide. Maybe she was a gatekeeper, a keeper of the past I was too afraid to confront. Was she protecting something, or hiding something? The fear coursed through me like venom. Out of the encompassing night sprang a figure cloaked in shadows. My heart lurched. Was it her? My anticipation ignited in a volatile mix of hope and terror. Then, the figure stepped closer, revealing a face stretched with age and sorrow. It wasn't Jess, but someone I recognized, an old friend from years past, long thought lost. Ryan, they croaked, their voice a rasp, a haunting echo of familiarity. You shouldn't have come here. The truth isn't what you think. Roused from my shock, anger surged through me. Where's Jess? Where are my kids? I gritted my teeth, fists clenched. I had come too far to be stalled now, but the figure shook their heads sadly. You're asking the wrong questions, my friend. Sometimes the truth is a curse wrapped in promises. I took a step back, confusion flooding my senses. Were these riddles the dark's game? Or was there a larger plan at play? As I grappled with these thoughts, I felt a cold breeze brush past me, sending chills racing down my spine. The air seemed to sway, as if shifting to reveal something, a doorway. Without thinking, I lunged forward, desperation clawing at me for answers. But just as I reached out, the shadows clawed back, wrapping tightly around me, pulling me down into an unfathomable abyss. A scream tore from my throat, bursting against the silence before vanishing. Then, just as quickly as it began, it stopped. The cool, damp air closed in, and I was left suspended in an unfamiliar place. "What have you done?" The voice of the woman in white echoed through the darkness, blatant and unforgiving. I had taken the leap. But what awaited me on the other side? Just then, a flicker of light caught my eye, a beacon amidst the ominous black. I had to go toward it. But as I stepped closer, was that laughter I heard? Or was it something worse? As I breached the threshold of the light, the haunting voice lingered in my mind. "Once you know, it can't be unknown." What truth lay waiting? Did I dare find out? The light enveloped me, warm and inviting, contrasting sharply with the cold grasp of the shadows. My breath caught as I stepped forward, intrigued yet terrified. What lay beyond this radiant glow? Was it Jess, or had I merely slipped into another layer of the nightmare? As I moved closer, the laughter grew louder, echoing in my ears. It was sweet, infectious, yet tainted with something darker, a hint of mockery hidden beneath the surface. I squinted, straining to see what was behind the haze. Suddenly, the laughter stopped, and an unsettling silence filled the air. I felt a knot in my stomach tighten. My instincts screamed that something wasn't right. "Jess?" I called, though my voice trembled. I hesitated, knowing full well this could be a trap. Slowly, the light shifted, illuminating the figures before me, shadows morphing into familiar faces. I recognized them, faces I had longed to see again. My heart raced as I dared to step forward, but the moment I did, their expressions changed. "Daddy!" they cried in unison, arms outstretched, but the joy was eclipsed by something shadowy lurking in their eyes. They were not my kids, at least not entirely. They were twisted versions of the innocence I once knew. "Run!" a voice shrieked, my own voice. It echoed in my mind, disorienting me. I stumbled back, merging with the darkness from which I thought I'd escaped. The light flickered, revealing the woman in white once more, but her form was now transparent, shimmering like an illusion. "You should have listened," she said, her voice weaving through the air like smoke. This truth isn't meant for the faint of heart. With each word, her form flickered, her face shifting into a haunting mask of sorrow. Behind her stood a doorway, ancient and scarred, the outline pulsing like a heartbeat. It beckoned me with a promise of answers. My pulse quickened at the thought of Jess, my children. I wanted to rush in, but dread wrapped around my heart like a vice. "What happened to Jess?" I shouted, desperation spilling into my words. "Tell me." The woman's eyes narrowed, reflecting the chaos brewing around us. "Sometimes what you seek is already inside you." Before I could process her words, the world shifted again. The ground trembled beneath my feet, and the scene melted away like watercolor paint on wet paper. I was thrown into a whirlwind of memories, flashes of happier times with Jess and the laughter of our children, conflicting intensely with the pain of their loss. I gasped, the tenuous fabric of reality stretching too thin. My mind throbbed, battling against memories I had buried deep. The echoes of their laughter morphed into cries for help, transforming into a cacophony of anguish. "What have I done?" I murmured, overwhelmed by guilt. "You wandered into the depths of your own making," the woman in white whispered, her voice both a warning and a comfort. "Now you must confront it." As the memories flowed and surged, I caught glimpses of Jess, her expression a mix of determination and terror. Before I could reach for her, she faded into the shadows, leaving me with the specter of regret and despair. Then, the darkness thickened, coiling around me like a shroud. I felt the weight of the truth pressing down, suffocating me as I grasped for clarity. Another figure started to materialize, more substantial than the rest, a fierce silhouette with an unmistakable presence. "Who are you?" I demanded, fear twisting into a question of desperation. In response, the figure stepped closer, and I could see the sharp eyes glinting with a familiar depth of understanding. "Find me," the shadow commanded, the voice a blend of my memories, my heart, and everything I feared to lose. As the shadows lunged, aiming to envelop me once more, clarity broke through. I was spiraling towards an unimaginable truth. The light flickered, and in a violent clash of darkness and brilliance, everything went white. When the brightness faded, I found myself standing alone, back in the forest, but the atmosphere had changed. The air was thick, saturated with the scent of rain-soaked earth and promise. I turned around, gripping the remnants of my resolve. The way back loomed behind me. What do I have to do? I whispered into the suffocating darkness. And just beyond the trees, the laughter beckoned once more, chilling yet oddly inviting. Where was Jess? In the cracked balance of joy and sorrow, the truth loomed large. I was left teetering on the edge, aware that to find her, I must face the deepest fears tucked away in the corners of my heart. What awaited me now? Would I dare to take that final step into the unknown? The forest seemed alive, shadows creeping in closer, enveloping me in their grip. The laughter echoed again, now taunting, an unsettling reminder of what I had lost. It made my skin crawl, clawing at my sanity. I steeled myself, each breath heavy with the weight of my choices. Jess! I called again, voice breaking. It felt feeble against the malevolent chatter that twisted around me. Silence followed, thick and oppressive, and my heart pounded in my ears like a war drum. The trees swayed, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, warning me to turn back. I glanced over my shoulder, the path behind me shadowy and foreboding. Every part of me craved to run, to escape the horrors of what lay ahead, but the urgency to find Jess pressed me forward. I trudged deeper into the forest, ignoring the gnawing fear. Suddenly, the air shimmered, and the figures from the hazy light returned, indistinct and shrouded in light and darkness. They loomed closer, faces both familiar and alien shifting like smoke in a gust of wind. My throat tightened as dread danced in the pit of my stomach. "Don't go in there," one whispered, its voice drenched in sorrow, perhaps a warning or a plea. I took a step back, only to find the forest closing in around me. The laughter returned, sharp and mocking, splitting the silence as I fought to keep my panic at bay. "I have to find her," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "Finding her is not the question," the figure rippled, becoming unfocused, "but what you're willing to sacrifice for the truth." "What does that even mean?" I shouted, desperation vibrating through my words. Then, almost as if in answer, the shadows thickened, swirling around, revealing scenes I had tried so hard to forget. At first, it was just laughing, her eyes bright with life as she held our children. But then the laughter twisted, morphing into echoes of their cries mixed with my own sobs. "No! Stop it!" I screamed, cringing away. My body shook with the weight of the regrets held deep within, secrets that radiated off the darkness engulfing me. "You cannot run," the voice said. "You take these fears with you, everywhere. They are part of you." In that moment, I understood that I couldn't hide from the truth any longer. Gritting my teeth, I glanced at the pulsating doorway that had appeared again, beckoning like an abyss and a ladder both. What lay beyond? Would it reveal Jess or shatter the remaining shards of my sanity? As I approached, I felt the ground tremble. Glimpses of Jess appeared, her face lined with worry, eyes pleading for me to remember to confront the truth I had buried. "Jess, I'm here," I called into the void. "I promise I won't leave." My heart raced as I stepped toward the doorway, the light pulsating in rhythm with my heartbeat. Just as I reached for the handle, a scream pierced the silence, sending chills down my spine. "Don't let it in!" it implored, echoing my panic back at me. I hesitated, drawn by the torment that twisted in my gut. Fear clawed at me, the fear of what I might find, and what it could cost. "Choose!" The shadows hissed, surrounding me like a noose. "Will you confront your demons or allow them to consume you?" The laughter crescendoed, drowning my thoughts in chaos, and I closed my eyes against the din. In that darkness, I felt a flicker of something, the hope of Jess, a whisper of love. Would I step through and face the truth, or would I betray that flicker, hiding from the horrors that lay ahead? As I drew in a deep breath, everything grew silent, and in that stillness, I realized there was no escaping the answer. Soon, I would confront the darkness head-on. But was I truly ready for what lay beyond? The moment my hand brushed the cold metal of the door handle, an electric surge pulsed through me. It was a jolt of fear mixed with determination, igniting every nerve in my body. That singular action felt like the last stitch holding my sanity together, and as I turned the handle, a flood of sensations crashed over me. The door swung open, revealing a blinding light that clashed sharply with the oppressive darkness of the forest. Instinctively, I shielded my eyes, squinting against the brightness that enveloped me. The enchanting glow morphed into a landscape of unfamiliar silhouettes, twisted trees, and distorted shadows. A soft whisper floated in the air, barely audible yet haunting. Remember what you've chosen to forget." It was Jess's voice, laced with an urgency I couldn't ignore. It reverberated through my very being, a reminder of the life we once shared. The moment I stepped through, the forest around me melted away, as if I had crossed into another realm. I was no longer in the place where I had lost her. I was in a world woven from memories, each thread both familiar and nightmarish. I found myself standing at an old, crumbling house, the very one we had lived in before everything had fallen apart. My breath quickened as memories rushed in. I could see Jess, radiant and full of life, laughing with our children in the garden. But the laughter began to wane, the joy turned bitter, and shadows loomed within the corners of the house. "No," I murmured, stepping closer to the decaying structure, the door slightly ajar as if inviting me in. "Jess!" I shouted, my voice strained, desperation clawing at my throat. But my call lingered in the air, unanswered. Instead, a cold wind swept through the open doorway, carrying with it an icy sense of foreboding. As I crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped, and so did my heart. The walls whispered secrets, murmuring accusations. "You could have saved us," they hissed, echoing my failures. I pressed a hand against the wall, its rough texture grounding me, as visions began to swirl around me. Scenes flickered: Jess in a hospital bed, her face pale and drawn, eyes wide with fear. And then back to the laughter, our children playing, their innocence shattering into screams. "No! Stop!" I shouted, clutching my head in agony. This wasn't real. Was it? Suddenly, a figure stood before me, draped in shadow but oddly familiar. Dread seeped into my bones as recognition dawned. "You!" I gasped, realizing it was someone I thought I had lost years ago. "Do you truly believe you can save her?" the figure asked, voice echoing with pain and anger. "This is your doing. You abandoned her, and now you want to reclaim what was lost. But what have you sacrificed?" The shadows around me tightened, pulling me into memories I long wanted to escape. Each fragment twisted, reshaped by my guilt and regret, leaving me more vulnerable than ever. "I'm here!" I shouted, but my voice faltered again, lost in the cacophony of whispers. "I want to lose her again. I can't!" With that desperate determination, I took a step forward, fueled by love and haunted by fear. The house too seemed to thrum with life, as if it was gauging my readiness to confront what lay within its depths. Just as black shapes swirled around me, a chilling screech erupted, louder than before. "You think love alone is enough?" the voice taunted, a stark reminder of my choices. Panic seized me as I looked at the decaying walls closing in. They were not just a barrier, they were the embodiment of every lie I had ever told myself. An overwhelming urge to flee surged within me, but one thing anchored me: Jess. "Jess!" I cried once more, heart thundering, hoping against hope that this time it would reach her. The shadows receded momentarily, and I felt an answer, a flicker of warmth pushing back at the cold. "You have to choose," the voice of the shadows hissed urgently. "What are you willing to sacrifice to find the truth?" Frantic breaths escaped me, and all that cascaded through my mind was one heavily weighed question: what price was I willing to pay? As the darkness loomed, I had to decide. Would I dig deeper into this haunted past, or allow the shadows to take me once and for all? Something twisted within me as the doorway began to close behind. I was out of time. What awaited me on the other side? As the door gave way to the encroaching shadows, my heart raced. The air felt electric, thick with the burdens of the past. One last look back, I saw the light flickering like a flickering candle, and a sense of loss surged through me. I steeled myself and plunged into the darkness, a shroud that closed around me like a vice that I landed on cold, damp ground, a grinding, unforgiving surface that threatened to swallow my will. The world was soundless, devoid of the warmth I craved. My breaths were shallow, trembling, stuttering through fear. Then, a pinprick of light appeared in the distance, illuminating a path shrouded in mist, the way forward, a beacon calling me deeper into the unknown. With each step, the whispers returned, echoing with mounting ferocity. "What will you sacrifice?" They hissed like 1,000 lost souls clawing at my sanity. "What is the price of your love?" "Silence!" I roared, glaring into the gloom. The path was lined with memories, each shadow, every rustle, felt like a snippet of a lost moment. I staggered through, trying to blot out the echoes of laughter that twisted into the sound of despair. Suddenly, images flashed before me: Jess, bedridden and frail, hauntingly beautiful, her eyes shadowed by despair. "Help me," she whispered, raw and desperate. The facade of her illness shattered my heart. What had I done? "You can't leave me, Jess." "I'm coming!" I yelled, my voice breaking, panic clawing at my throat. I could taste the heavy bitterness of regret, a pungent reminder of the choices I'd made, choices that could have changed everything. The light flickered again, revealing a dilapidated staircase spiraling upwards. I climbed, each creak beneath my feet a reluctant reminder of the years past. As I ascended, memories flooded me, a chaotic collage of family dinners and birthday parties mutating into bitter arguments, fleeing cries echoing in the corridors of my mind. On the top step, I paused, drawn to a door at the end of the hall. It pulsed with a strange energy, a dark, pulsating heartbeat that mirrored my own rising dread. I reached for the handle, fingers trembling, and turned. As it opened with a dry groan, I was met with an unexpected sight. A room bathed in light yet eerily sterile, devoid of warmth. The walls were lined with photographs of our family, but they shattered as I moved closer, spilling bright shards across the floor. I was losing everything. At the center of the room stood an altar, adorned with fragments of family relics, our children's first drawings, wedding mementos, the first photo of Jess and me under that cherry blossom tree. It was a heart-wrenching tableau of love and loss. "Is this what you really want?" The figure of my past emerged, no longer obscured by shadows. It was me, or a version I once knew, full of hope, innocence still intact. "You see what you sacrifice, your family, your heart?" "All for what?" "I did it for love," I shouted, the desperation bleeding through my voice. "I never meant for any of this to happen." As I focused on the altar, new images broke forth, a dark figure pulling Jess away from me. "Who are you?" I choked out, fear gripping my heart as the pieces clicked into place. The darkness shifted, revealing the truth, and a name whispered from my lips, chilling to the bone. Baxter. Just then, the room plunged into chaos. Objects flew from the shelves, the air filled with screams that felt ripped from another time. I staggered back, shielding myself from the storm of emotions swirling around me. I blinked through the panic, and there, beneath the chaos, I heard Jess's voice rise from the storm, piercing through the wails of the past. "Find me or lose everything." In that moment, realization hit me like a slap. I was running out of time. My choice had become a matter of urgency. What path led me to Jess? Could I put aside my demons to save her? As I clutched the altar, fingers digging into splintered wood, I felt the weight of every decision bearing down on me. The shadows inched closer, threatening to consume my resolve. With a final glance at the chaotic remnants of my life, I took a deep breath, silencing the voices screaming for vengeance and despair. This was not just about facing the past, it was about reclaiming my future, and I had to act now. What revelation lay hidden within the darkness? Would I find Jess, or would I face my own destruction? The chaos around me escalated, swirling like a violent storm, as fragments of my life scattered across the sterile room: family photos, playful drawings, mementos from better times. I fought against the tide, desperate to shield myself from the memories clawing at the edges of my mind. Find me or lose everything. Jess's plea echoed in my ears, melding with scratching voices that crept closer, hungry for my despair. I steadied myself against the altar, my pulse loud and erratic against the silence. I had to move, to act. But the weight of my choices pulled at my soul like lead. With a swift determination, I shook off the dread that clouded my vision. I turned back toward the door, each step heavier than the last, but the whispers chased me. "You already lost her," they taunted, and I felt the truth of those words seep into my bones. "Enough!" I shouted, pressing my fists against my temples. I couldn't dwell on my past mistakes. Jess needed me. In the distance, I spotted the fading pinprick of light again, a flicker against the suffocating dark that promised hope. I sprinted toward it, every stride fueled by the urgency of Jess's cry. As I approached, the light intensified, illuminating a tight passageway beyond the door. With each step forward, the air grew thicker. I pushed through the fog, my heart pounding. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and warping into haunting figures, all echoing the torment I felt inside. And then, as I neared the light, it exploded into brilliance that I stumbled into a vast chamber, an ancient hall echoing with lost memories. The walls were lined with cracked mirrors, reflecting distorted images of myself, each one a version of me, a warning of what I could become if I failed. Each face wore a mask of sorrow, stripped of hope. I gasped as I recognized a familiar silhouette among the reflections. It was my former self, the man who promised to love Jess no matter the storms. In the center of the chamber, a pedestal stood, and atop it rested a simple object, a key. It gleamed with an eerie iridescence, and could have been a relic of life or death. I hesitated, feeling a surge of dread clouding my judgment. "This is your craft. Your chance to save her." A voice emerged, layered with resonance, making my skin crawl, yet doubt gripped me, slicing through the urgency like cold steel. "What if this is a trap? What if taking the key leads me to ruin?" Time slipped away like sand through my fingers as the oppressive air grew even heavier. But Jess's voice filled the void once more, desperate and haunting. "Do you think I'm gone? I'm right here. Trust me." Each word tethered me to the reality of my love, urging me to act. "Jess, I'm here," I cried, reaching desperately for the key. But just as my fingers brushed its cool surface, the mirrors shattered in a cacophony of splintering glass. My reflection exploded, revealing a dark figure standing behind me, a presence that exuded malice. "Not so fast," it hissed, its voice suffused with a spider-like menace. "You think you can reclaim what is lost? She is beyond your reach now." My body froze as I turned to face the shadow looming ominously behind me, feeling its chilling grasp on my throat. The world around me blurred amidst the chaos of shards cutting through the air, and suddenly, clarity hit me. Jess was not gone for good. She was fighting, just as I was. With rage igniting in my veins, I gathered my courage. "You have no power over me," I growled, and in that moment, everything hung in the balance as I lunged for the key. Would it break the spell that held Jess captive? Or would I unearth a horror darker than I ever imagined? The truth approached, and the key pulsed in my hand just as the figure lurched forward, ready to reclaim my soul. What unspeakable choice lay ahead of me? Would I be strong enough to defy the darkness, or would it consume me whole? The moment I clasped the key in my trembling fingers, there was a shift in the air. The darkness recoiled, a snake retreating from the light. I could feel its malevolent swirl like a storm, clawing at my sanity. But Jess's voice pierced through the chaos, a bond that anchored me. "Find me or lose everything," she whispered again, echoing through the void. My heart raced. This was the moment. I had crossed the threshold. The shadows would no longer govern my fate. With the key gripped tightly, I turned toward the dark figure, now seething with fury. "You don't own me!" I shouted, the words bellowing from a deep, primal place within. Each syllable stole power from the darkness, and I could feel the shadows transform, writhe like a serpent, unsure. "You dare defy me?" it screeched, the very walls shaking with the force of its rage. "She belongs to me now." The figure lunged forward, but I stood my ground, drawing strength from the memories of laughter that still echoed under the pressure of despair. My instincts ignited, igniting fire in my soul. Jess, I bellowed, voice resolute. I believe in us. I won't let you go. The shadows hesitated, faltering. And then, as if hearing me, they flared with uncertainty, casting bizarre shapes on the walls. I took my chance. I lifted the key high above my head like a torch, holding it steady against the encroaching darkness. You cannot have her. She's my light. With purpose, I marched forward, holding the key steady. Suddenly, the pedestal shimmered and pulsed like a heartbeat, urging me to step into the light pouring from the key. I shoved it into a slot in the pedestal that had appeared. The moment it clicked, a wave of blinding radiance surged through the hall. The figure shrieked in agony, its form contorting. No! You will pay for this! But the light consumed it, stretching across the chamber like a blanket of warmth, enveloping me, and I felt an electric pulse of energy warm my bones. I closed my eyes against the brilliance, and let it wash over me. When the illumination faded, I was no longer in the ancient hall. I found myself in a familiar place, a meadow filled with joyous laughter, sunlight washing over the world like gold. I blinked, and my heart soared at the sight, Jess and our children, at peace, happiness glowing on their faces. Daddy! They chimed in unison, running toward me with open arms. I knelt, enveloping them both in my desperate embrace, their warmth melting the cold that had buried itself so deeply in my soul. Jess! I turned to her, breathless. She stood there, luminous, free from the constraints of the shadows that had clawed at her for so long. Her eyes sparkled, every ounce of despair erased. You found me! Yes, I breathed, overwhelmed with relief. I came for you. We stood close, a reunion that felt both fragile and powerful, souls intertwined again as if we were a single entity, no more fear, no more doubt. Then a whisper echoed faintly in the distance, a memory of the darkness I managed to outrun. Remember, the truth isn't always beautiful. It started fading, my heart tightening momentarily. It was a reminder I couldn't ignore. I could not forget the lessons learned from the depths I had plunged through. They had forged a new clarity in me. Let us go home, I murmured to Jess, the yearning swelling within me. Hand in hand, we walked toward our children, into the sunlight, leaving behind the echoes of anguish. Each step was a release, a promise to carry the truth not as a weight, but as a guardian of love. As we strolled forward, laughter danced around us, real and vibrant. I caught a fleeting glimpse of the shadows retreating into the dark haze, a tight grip released from my heart. It was behind me, but it would remain behind me. I refused to let it be the villain of my story, and in that meadow, with my family at my side, the past became a prologue, the truth a guiding light, reminding me of our power to overcome and the commitment we bore to each other that shone even brighter than the most persistent shadows. The air shimmered with hope as we faded into the embrace of the horizon, ready to create new memories together, filled with love, laughter, and the understanding that we had conquered the darkness, entwined forever. Now, dear friend, don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now to stay connected for the next exclusive story waiting just around the corner. Smash that like button now to ensure you never miss a beat of our thrilling adventures. And guess what? I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. It means the world to me. And remember, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who also need to experience this conclusion. Act now and be part of this amazing community.